Episode 245, The Power of Joy with LeAnn Austin.
Welcome to Latter-day Life Coaches, the podcast where each episode is a conversation between me, Heather Rackham, and one of my amazing coach colleagues. Each coach here is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and a highly trained, experienced life coach making a great impact in the lives of their clients. And together, we have one main goal, helping you live your best life no matter what. You ready for this conversation with the coach? Here we go.
In this episode, Heather welcomes back Coach LeAnn Austin to explore one of life's most misunderstood emotional states, joy. More than fleeting happiness or surface-level positivity, joy is revealed as a deep, spiritual-rooted experience that can coexist with grief, frustration, and uncertainty. Through personal stories, gospel insights, and one of her signature acronyms, LeAnn unpacks how agency, emotional awareness, and divine perspective all play a role in cultivating lasting joy, even in life's messy middle. Together, they reflect on the difference between worldly happiness and Christ-centered joy, the power of presence, and how even sorrow can be sacred when viewed through the lens of eternity. Whether you're feeling buried in circumstances or simply seeking more light in your day-to-day life, this conversation will leave you feeling seen, supported, and uplifted. Please enjoy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to our podcast today. And I'm glad to be joined by Coach LeAnn Austin. Hi, LeAnn.
Hey, Heather. Thank you so much for having me today. I love being here with you.
I love getting to visit with you, LeAnn. LeAnn has been on before, like many of the coaches. We've been around long enough now that it's like we get doubles and triples visits. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. If you've missed any of LeAnn's previous episodes, you're going to want to watch those or listen to those after this one, I'm sure. But LeAnn, before we get started, can you give people just kind of a little bit of a rundown on who you are and who you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. So I live in Georgia with my husband. I used to say my husband and dog, but my sweet dog passed away at the beginning of this year. So no more dog in Georgia with us, but we have 4 sons, 2 daughters-in-law, a grandson, and by the time this podcast airs, we'll have our first granddaughter. So exciting. Yeah.
So
So
fun.
I know I love to coach. I love to teach. I have a Connection Crew membership and one-on-one coaching hybrid program where I help people create more fun and connection with themselves and with their crew. And then I love exploring the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship. I think that is packed full of examples to learn from. And so I have a podcast and a book called Love of My Daughter-in-Law.
Love it. We'll make sure we link to all those because they are some fantastic resources. But yeah, and you have daughter-in-laws. So
Yes.
and quite a few actually in comparison to many people. So you have some experience there.
Yeah, super fun. Yep,
Yeah,
lots to learn and yeah.
good. That's awesome. All right. Well, LeAnn and I are going to talk about joy today, which I think is a word that we hear a lot, but I don't know that we fully, I don't know. I don't know that we really understand it. And sometimes we kind of run from it, like is it Brene Brown who calls it foreboding joy? Like and where it's like you have you're waiting for the hammer to drop or whatever, like if you're feeling joy, then it's kind of, some people don't want to, it scares them like, oh, but it won't last, right? So
Mm.
I don't know, that's not where we're going with this conversation today, but I do think that sometimes people run from it without knowing that they're running from joy because they're afraid of what the opposite of it means because they feel like it can't last forever. So hopefully, if that's you, which is probably all of us without even recognizing it, hopefully we can get some insight into joy today and I don't know, just kind of expand our knowledge and our feeling base, because I think that's something that's so important for us to do, to be able to expand those feelings that we experience and learn how to experience them more if there's something that we enjoy. So
Yeah, there's one little thing I want to throw in just because you mentioned this, and I just happened to read this
Yeah.
yesterday, Heather,
Okay.
which is fascinating. I was just reading the Liahona, and this is June, I believe, and it's titled "Experiencing the Fullness of Joy God Promises Us." And they talk about the difference between worldly happiness versus joy and that heartfelt joy that we get. So I love that you brought that up because I think worldly happiness is more temporarily. It's they say it's based on temporary pleasure and enjoyment and is influenced by our current circumstances. It can spark pure delight or cause us to laugh out loud. However, this kind of happiness can be fleeting and hard to keep. Meanwhile, Christ centered joy is a long term state of contentment and peace that isn't based on our circumstance. Joy speaks to the heart and soul and can last much longer than worldly happiness. So the fact that
Mm,
you said that, I'm like, oh, maybe worldly happiness versus this Christ-centered joy,
yeah.
can last
Yeah.
a lot longer. So awesome.
Well, and I think that Christ-centered joy is so sometimes we want to we think that in order to feel joy, it has to be void of emotions that we don't really like. I think a lot of times we kind of and I think the thing with Christ-centered joy is it's possible to experience joy even at the same time as you're experiencing another emotion that you don't necessarily love. So,
Yes, sorrow, grief, all of that. Yes, 100% frustration. Yep. Yep.
yep. So I think that's the trick, right?
Yeah.
And is learning how to allow it to be there and experience it even when times are difficult and hard. So which I think leads us right into something that I wanted to talk about, which is our agency. So what role does agency play in cultivating joy, especially when life feels heavy or uncertain, or when we might be experiencing things that we don't necessarily
Mhm.
think can be that we can have joy in those times.
I think just recognizing the agency part in joy and in everything is huge because finding joy isn't just about waiting for the happiness to come. It's about intentionally creating moments of joy in our everyday life.
Mhm.
That is huge. And I was reading too in the Leahona from February, this choose to cultivate joy. So, this choice aspect of it, we often get so caught up in what we can't control that we forget all the things that we can control. And in Doctrine and Covenants, section 58, verses 27 through 28, the Lord reminds the saints that we can do many things of our own free will. For the power is within us, wherein we are agents unto ourselves. So just remembering to choose to focus on moments of joy, laughter, peace, and inspiration helps us to realize that we can choose to create more of that, that the power is within us. We get to choose.
Mhm. And something that we talk about a lot here on this podcast is the idea that you'll find what you're looking for. And so
Mhm.
if you're scanning life, um, looking to find things that I don't know, looking to find ways that are you're able to have and experience joy, which that we all know that that's something that's an internal job for the most part. We get to create that, but there are things we can scan our life, and we can either choose to make it look at it, the glass half full or the glass half empty sort of thing, right? You can either choose
Mhm.
to look at this as an opportunity to experience joy or to experience something else. That is what agency is
Yeah.
our opportunity and our ability to choose.
Yeah.
And it's not just choosing our actions, but it's choosing how we want to feel about certain things.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because I was also reading for the Strength of Youth magazine. They mentioned when agency hurts. So,
Mhm.
what can you do when other people's choices lead them away from the joy of the gospel when it's hurting you? And this really resonated with me because sometimes, if you've ever felt a little bit responsible for the choices that other people made, they said, "Hey, let's get a few things straight." The first is to think is to remember that your loved ones already have a savior. Jesus Christ has already suffered the pains of all men and the pains of every living creature, both man, woman, and children. He loves our family members and our friends, and he knows their hearts, and he's not going to give up on them. And he knows how to help them best. So it's remembering that it's the Savior's work, not necessarily our work. It's our job. They kind of have this little section that it's like, what's your job versus what's not your job? And your job is to reach out and love, to pray, to listen to the Holy Ghost, to be an example. Not your job is don't take responsibility for other people's choices. Don't be judgmental. Don't be overly repetitive, and don't beat yourself up. So even the way someone else's uses their agency, even though it may be hurting to us, there's healing and there's hope available for you and for everyone that you care about. It's just being patient and looking to the Savior and keeping the choice, your own agency, and remember other people get to choose theirs.
Yeah. I think that's such a fantastic reminder that we have what we're responsible for, and we can let other people be responsible for what they're responsible for. Obviously, we have influence, and we don't ever want to be like, oh, well, that's yours, not mine, like, because we are here, we're relational people, and we're meant to be in relationships and to care for and love other people. But we do have to remember what is ours and what is other people's.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
For sure.
okay. This podcast, a podcast with LeAnn would not be a podcast with LeAnn unless she shared an acronym with us. So she's like the queen of acronyms. So LeAnn, I'm sure you have an acronym to go with joy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We got to
Okay.
have an acronym only because that's how I remember things.
Yes,
So if I
I
have an
know.
acronym, I can remember. So yeah. So J is for Jesus. And what does Jesus have to do with joy? Well, basically everything, because Jesus helps us find joy by offering a deep, lasting sense of peace, purpose, and love that, like I said before, goes way beyond our circumstances. And John 15:11 says, "These things have I spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full." And just thinking of that, and there's a fun balloon analogy. If you just envision yourself as an empty balloon, and remember that without air, it's kind of lifeless. But when we blow it up, it rises. And so joy comes from what's inside of us, not just what our circumstances are or what's happening around us. The Spirit fills us with joy when we focus on Jesus. Jesus invites us into that personal relationship where his love fills us up with that lasting joy. And I love thinking of that with Jesus and joy and that visual.
I like that too. And I do think that sometimes I guess I think it's important for us to also mention that it can be tricky because we talk about conversations about like joy and having the Savior in our life. And there are times when people are like, I'm doing all those things. I feel like I am trying to have a relationship with Jesus and I still don't feel joy. And so they take that to mean there's something wrong with me. I must not be faithful enough, or maybe even what I believe isn't true. And I want to make sure that we challenge that for people, like, so that people don't ever think that, well, if I'm not feeling the way that I think that I should be feeling, maybe I'm not doing enough. And then they dig in and they try to like do more of the checklist things, or they think there's something wrong with them. And that is just not the case.
Not at all. And I'm so glad you said that. And there's a few other things that ties into as well. I know the O is for others in this, in joy, and our connection with others has a lot to do with the joy that we feel.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like you said, it's really hard to feel joy with some of the people in our lives. And so just remembering that, I know the church has that amazing emotional resilience
Oh, yeah.
booklet. I love that. There's a section on building healthy relationships, and it's listening. Like they give this little visual of 4 steps to listen. But one of my favorite things that I've heard is the best way to love someone, and you hold up this little heart, and then shift it to your ears is to listen. So how
Mm.
love and listen, like I love that so much. And then communicating with the I message instead of you, instead of like, you do this, you never listen, you do all of these things. It's, I feel something, I'm noticing something. So it's bringing it back to ourselves when we're having that connection with others. And I think that's a great thing with the others and O in joy.
Mhm.
And then the why, like you mentioned, is for you. Like you said, like knowing that you're enough right where you are. I mean, the basic commandments, love God, love others, love me. That's it. You know what I mean? That's it. So really, I think when we can learn to have that love and compassion for ourselves or for you, then we are so much better able to show up for others. And we're not beating ourselves up when we don't feel joy. We're
Mhm.
just recognizing, oh, okay, yes, I'm doing what I can do, and I'm still not feeling the joy. Just something more to get curious about.
Yeah.
But I think that you makes a big difference. And this is one more of my favorite quotes. This is from Elder S. Gifford Nielsen. And I think I may have mentioned this before on the podcast. This was from April 2021 General Conference. Our Heavenly Father wants us to love ourselves, not to become prideful or self-centered, but to see ourselves as He sees us. We are His cherished children. When this truth sinks deep into our hearts, our love for God grows. When we view ourselves with sincere respect, our hearts are open to treat others that way too. The more we recognize our divine worth, the better we understand this divine truth that God has sent us right here, right now, at this momentous time in history, so that we can do the greatest possible good with the talents and gifts we have. This is our time. And I really think loving ourselves is key to finding that joy in our lives.
Oh, absolutely. I say this so many times on this podcast, but I just feel like their work and their glory is to prove to us who we are, is to just continually show us that we're capable of being like them, that there's so much inside of us, that like so much for us to love. And when I look at things that way, I think it's so exciting. Like what else is there? What else haven't I discovered yet? What do they want me to see?
Yeah,
And anyway, I think that's so fun. Thank you.
I
Thanks for
love
bringing
that.
that up. All
Hmm.
right, we talked about this a little bit, that kind of joy and pain
Hmm.
go side by side. That like
Hmm.
life, if we live a life that is full of agency, where our heavenly parents want us to experience agency, that means that there has to be an opposite in all things, right? And so
Yeah.
that would be, one of these is joy and pain. I'm curious if you can just share with us, maybe if you've ever experienced seasons, and I'm sure you, and I know you have, because otherwise you wouldn't experience joy without it, but maybe share with us something like a time when they've been coexisting together in your life.
Mhm. Well, I think this is just a great reminder that we have all experienced that joy and pain at the same time. So, bringing awareness to notice that when we are trying to feel more joy, it's like, wait, and I can feel pain alongside with it.
Hmm.
And for me, it just, different times in my life, it just reinforces for me that God is in the detail of every area of my life. When I'm like, this is terrible, this is really hard, when I'm feeling a lot of pain, I also remember, wait, my heavenly parents, they've got me. It's okay. Like I can feel joy and I can feel extreme pain and sorrow and frustration and all of the things. I
Hmm.
think it's a beautiful blend of both.
Yeah, the power of the word and, right?
Yes,
Like
100%.
I have to remind myself of that so many times in the day. Like if somebody says something, or I have a tendency to be like, well, if they have that opinion about this, then I I probably won't like the rest of their opinions or whatever. Like I kind of can be a throw the person out with the bathwater or whatever. I'm kind of being sounding harsh, and I'm not that harsh. But what I have to remind myself is somebody there, it's possible. Like the power of the word and is so
Yes.
important, right? Like
Mhm.
they can say this, and I can also, and there's also other things that I like about them at the same time, right? Like,
100%.
and it's the same here. Like, we can experience joy and we can be experiencing this at the same time. Like, the power of and is being witnessed in our lives everywhere. It's possible
Yeah.
for us to find it everywhere. So,
Yeah. And I think too, reminding Brad Wilcox, I believe, mentioned this quote in conference not too long ago, but I say this to myself every day, especially when I'm just feeling frustration and things like that. It's like, I got this and Jesus has got me.
hmm hmm
And Jesus has got me, just reminding myself that, like, wait, no, Jesus has got me. And Jesus has got my adult children. And Jesus has got whatever the situation I'm in, he's got it. So just that can help kind of lessen the pain a little bit and increase the joy when I remember that.
yeah, that's a really great point. So, as we are remembering things like that, Jesus has me. And I think Jesus and joy, and like, it's the J is synonymous, and you're
Yeah.
right, joy is Jesus. They
Yeah.
go hand in hand. I'm curious how we can start, or how you've seen that we can start making space for joy in those cracks, in those times, maybe when we're thinking, like, that there can't be joy, or maybe we need to be reminded that Jesus has us, right? So,
Mhm.
in those messy moments.
Yeah, yeah. I think just simply looking for the lessons in the messy moments.
Mm,
Like, here's a messy situation that I'm in. What can I learn from this? What are the tender mercies there? Because like Brene Brown, I love the middle is messy and that's where the magic is.
mhm,
That's where we spend a good chunk of our life is in that messy middle where we're feeling all the things. So yeah,
mhm.
I think it's just noticing, wait, what can I learn? Where is Jesus in here?
Yeah.
And remembering that.
What you just said, all of a sudden I had a visual of a cake. And I like cake, but I especially love the filling. If there's like layers in a cake, I love the filling in a cake. And so when you said messy middle, I was like, oh yeah, it's just like cake, right? Like, we love the messy middle of something, even though we forget that. We forget that we need the middle of things, because that's really what makes life so good.
It does. I love that visual too, Heather,
Yeah.
because it's like that delicious middle. And when it's really thick and yummy, that
Yep.
filling part.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Why can't we remember that when we're in the middle of something? Be like, oh, this is just like the middle of the cake. This is
Uh-huh.
the best
Uh-huh.
part.
Yep.
Oh, well, with anything, we have misconceptions. And, we talked about that a little bit in the beginning, like the things that sometimes people get confused about what joy is. I'm wondering what you see as being some of those common misconceptions about joy.
Yeah, and I hear this a lot from clients and just people in general. We think we have to be happy all the time. Oh, we just need to be happy. My family just needs to have a happy experience on this vacation. Like, it's all I've got to be happy or they've got to be happy. And I think giving ourselves space to feel all of the emotions, listening to our personal revelation, whatever that looks like, and doing things that we love rather than what everyone else wants us to do. I think just being real and honest and knowing that no, we don't need to be happy all the time. That's not what joy is. Joy isn't being happy all the time.
Mhm. It's such a good point, because I mean, we do tend to think like, if I don't feel great in this moment, if I'm not happy in this moment, something must be wrong. And the reality is that's not, once again, if there's opposition in all things,
Mhm.
then that also means that we are not meant to be experiencing happiness, or like those emotions that we particularly like to experience. We're not meant to experience them all the time.
Right.
But the undercurrent is joy. Like, yes, we might not be experiencing those emotions that we love all the time, but it is possible to still have this layer of joy that's just kind of underwriting all of it.
Yes, and I think that's it right there. It is just kind of underlying it. It's like it is there for us whenever we choose to feel it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
can totally be there, but we don't have to be, you know, happy and all of that all the time.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's making me think of something that I finally put my thumb on. Like, this was been a couple of years ago, but there was so much happening in our life at that moment. One of our kids was getting ready to graduate from high school, and there was a whole lot of other things going on. And I was getting some coaching actually. And I said to her, I just feel like there's a background noise, a hum all the time of just that's just never quiet. And it was like, like this little, I just wanted to be like like it was just behind, in my brain all the time. And it was just this background of anxiousness that just did not want to go away.
Hmm.
And I'm like, it's just the background hum. It's a background noise. It's just accompanying my life. And I think that it's possible for joy to be the same thing, but on the flip side, right?
Yes.
Like this background, but it wouldn't be a zzz. It would be something like classical and lovely, right?
Yes. And calming and
And
like, yes,
yes, yes.
exactly.
I
Uh-huh.
I hadn't really thought about that until right now, but I think that that's what joy can be.
Ah, I love that so much. Yeah. And just looking for it. And whatever, I think it's different for each one of us. So, whatever
Hmm.
that feels like to you, when you do feel that joy, honing in on, wait, where is it in the background? Even when I
Yeah,
don't notice it or feel it, where is it that I could? That's
yeah.
beautiful. Hmm.
Okay, so this might you might not have an answer for this, but I'm wondering what the difference is between joy and peace. Is there a difference?
That's a great question.
I'm just wondering that in this very moment, and I don't know that I've ever pondered it before. But anyway, I don't know. Just something that came to my mind.
Yeah, well, and I think that's something to think about. And I think it's a beautiful blend of the two. I
Hmm.
think because peace and joy can almost,
Hmm.
interact.
Yeah,
So,
are
yeah,
they
that is something to think
synonymous? Are
about.
they? I'm sure Brene Brown has written about it in Atlas of the Heart. I've got to go dig it out and
That's
see
right. Peace. You want
what
peace
she
and
says.
joy.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know because sometimes, yeah, I just am curious what the difference right there would be. But anyway, okay, what would you say to somebody who is listening, who is feeling buried in their circumstances
Mhm.
and like joy doesn't even seem accessible to them right now?
Mhm. Yeah. I think the biggest key is the awareness factor. Like, okay, wait. Joy isn't accessible. I wonder why I'm not feeling joy. How could I better understand where I'm at right now? So taking that step back to be like, okay, wait a second. And then the whole agency factor. I'm not feeling joy. However, if I was to choose to, what might that look like?
Mhm.
And I think I've been learning so many things about the nervous system. I love Leah Davidson nervous system stuff and just creating that safe space for ourselves, looking for those even just little tiny glimmers of light or joy and noticing Jesus in our life and how he's got us. Like
Mhm.
just looking for that and noticing it. And may not feel it very often, but if we're choosing to look for it, we're going to find it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm actually really glad you brought up the nervous system because I've kind of been thinking this whole time because I mentioned in the beginning that we have like our feelings are a choice. But
Hmm.
I think there is a thinking something that we forget, and I think this is important for us to note that sometimes they're not because
Right.
our nervous system comes online
Yep.
and will trump our agency a lot of times. And
Yep.
so please be aware of that. I would never want anybody to be like, well, if it's a choice, then how come I can't experience this feeling every time that I want to? Or why do I have this reaction in these moments when this happens?
Uh-huh.
And our nervous system will always trump, right? Like it there is and we can and it doesn't mean that we can't learn to work with our nervous system and to be able to like what you're talking about with working with Leah Davidson, like she's helping us learn how to regulate and use our
And
nervous systems and be
Mhm.
free of a lot of those things that kind of keep us stuck there. But I just
Yes.
want people to be aware of that yes, we have choice, but yes, we also have a nervous system that
Yes.
comes online too.
Yes. And so at times we don't feel that we do have a choice. Yeah. And
Yes.
that's beautiful in different states of our nervous system and doing things that we can just create. How can I create that safety? Even just for a second, but knowing
Mhm.
it's okay that I'm not because I'm triggered by something, something has happened and that's okay too.
Mhm.
It's really back to that that joy, the Jesus, the other, and ourselves, really taking care of and nourishing ourselves, just to be like, it's okay where I'm at and I'm not feeling joy, and that's not a problem.
Mhm.
That's like you said, my nervous system is figuring some things out, and I'm going to figure out ways to befriend it and love on it, and it's okay right where I'm at.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because you have the choice there. Your agency there is learning how to use your agency to react in a helpful way to your body's nervous system, the way your body is acting, right? And so
Yes.
agency is always there, but it's just learning how to use it with other people, with ourselves, and loving. I love LeAnn is perfect about talking about joy, always good about talking about love. I mean, like she like talks about loving ourselves is, and it's so
Mhm.
important because it's what we need in all those moments.
Yeah, it's the basis of what we're able to do and everything else. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Hmm.
Well, Leanne, thank you.
Ah,
Such
my
like such a great
pleasure.
topic. Like we could talk about joy. We need more conversations around joy. I think it's
Mhm.
something that we
Mhm.
I don't know. Like how could we not benefit from bringing that topic up more frequently?
Absolutely. Well, and I know President Nelson, and we've heard this quote a gazillion times, the joy we feel has little to do with the circumstances of our lives and everything to do with the focus of our lives.
Mhm.
And it's okay when we're not focused on joy. It's just something to be aware of. Okay, when I want to feel more joy and I'm not, is there something that I could focus on? Where could I choose and be a little more intentional about that? So I think that's definitely something to think about.
So great. Well,
Yeah.
Leanne, before we go, can you share with people how they can connect with you?
Yes, yeah. I'm leannaustin.com is my website, or I'm on all the socials at Leanne Austin Coaching. I have my Love of My Daughter-in-Law podcast. And then if you want a free connection blueprint, which is just a 3-step guide to help you reconnect with yourself and to spark more joy into your life, then just go to my website and you can get that too.
Awesome. We will make sure we link to all of that in the show notes. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad to have you with me, Leanne. And thank you to our listeners for being here with us because we love having these conversations. And I mean, I guess even if we're just talking to each other and not to other people, it would
Mhm.
still be fantastic. But I love knowing that we have people around the world that are listening. And anyway, thank you. Thanks for being with us.
Yes. Thank you so much, Heather. Appreciate all you do.
Yep. We'll see you next time. Hey, we just wanted to thank you for spending part of your day here with us at Latter day Life Coaches and being part of this conversation. Share this with your friends so that you can have a conversation with them on this topic as well. And as always, subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Have a good one, my friends.